I like this question a lot, and I have a really kind of straightforward answer. I think about this question a lot. Zach asked, tips for making routine when and forgive me if I wrote this down incorrectly because I was like quickly writing. Tips for making routine when creativity is almost always on a whim. I think there is a big misconception about creativity. It is true, especially in the sort of writing and producing aspect and probably other things as well, other non-music forms, that it is true that a lot of the really big important things happen quickly and unexpectedly. That's why people talk about, I'm channeling something, I don't know what happened, and then I just wrote the song, the lyrics came out. I think oftentimes that is true, that you get these things in bursts, these emotional bursts that you can't really calculate. However, I think it is a big misconception that you're sitting around, inspiration strikes, and then you get to work. The reality is you are most often already working, and then creativity hits you and inspiration strikes. So the big key for, the question is, how do you make a routine when creativity is on a whim? You put yourself in the position where you're already creating, and then when the inspiration strikes, you're already in that mode. You have to put yourself in the position to be ready to go when that stuff goes. And we talk about workflow and things like that a lot. If you're a writer, producer, or if you're a mix engineer, whatever it is, having the shortest distance between I have an idea and now I can create it is really, really important. But even more than that, there's like a Stephen King on writing. There's, it's talking about other mediums, that book that Stephen King wrote about writing. There's Born Standing Up, which is the Steve Martin book. A lot of the great creative people talk about you have to just go in and be consistent and put yourself in the position and make things. And when you're making things and being consistent, that's when the greatness strikes. It's not you're sitting around and then you have a great idea and then you go over the piano. It's like you're sitting down playing piano. You have a routine. So yeah, give chance and opportunity. I like that a lot. Like you have to be able to be consistent and putting yourself in the position. I think it's just a misconception that you're just going to sit around and then inspiration is going to strike. War of Art is also good. I like that book a lot. It's sort of like a good, John, shout out on the chat there. War of Art is a nice book because it's one of those things you can read and every chapter is just like, hey, get your shit together and go start making stuff. Like it's basically just that. And it's a great book. I don't know if you have thoughts.
I just think there's so much supporting the fact that a routine, whether it's morning, whatever phase, and there's a great episode of the Huberman Labs podcast that discusses the three phases of the day and when to attempt certain things to form better habits depending on what you're going for. So figure out which phase. You don't have to have a morning routine. Like we talk a lot about that. I have a morning routine, but that's my version of routine. If you are the type of person that wakes up and you're a lyricist and you're waking up from a dream and you feel like you can't write a lyric until you make your espresso or meditate. It's like, if you wake up and you have your notepad or your journal next to your bed, write the lyric before you start your day. Like that could be the start of your routine. So your routine is starting your day by writing, then you're a writer, then that's creativity striking when it's striking most, which is in that morning phase, right? And if that's something you consistently do, that's part of the routine. Like creativity can be part of the routine. Other people need to do tasks that they would not normally do once they hit a creative flow. They might forget to do things that are very beneficial for the creativity and the retainment of, things that we're studying, learning, our body, our health, communication with other people, things that we hold in high value, but maybe we'll lose perspective on because we're already in the trenches creatively. So maybe you should consider moving that stuff to the foreground of your day or the beginning of your day. So then later on, you can be more into that, that creative flow state. But that's dependent on everybody. And I encourage people to listen to this episode because there's no wrong or right to where these routines are. And it's just important of doing them consistently around the same time, consistently in those stages. So you could have my morning routine could be your nighttime routine, right? And that doesn't matter. That makes no difference. It's the fact that you're doing them consistently. And any sort of habit building is going to be best for you when you're doing it consistently whenever it is. And I think that's what the takeaway here is for routine is whenever it is, do it about the same time every day for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I both, with all the humility that is involved with saying this, because there needs to be a lot. I think you and I consider ourselves pretty high performing individuals. And I think that even, at least I'll speak for myself, I think I often, let's see, how do I say this? Like, I often try to oversolve becoming the best creative person. Like, I'm trying to be like, what's the optimal solution for the perfect thing? And the reality is, like, just get up and start making stuff. Like, I think that's the best advice for most people. And, you know, you and I have been in this for a few decades, and, you know, we're working at a pretty high level, however you measure those things in music. And yet I think the thing that works the best for me is just starting the day with making things, starting the day with some output. If I'm like, how do I just go play the piano for a while? Just go write some lyrics. You know, it's funny you said that thing about if you're a lyricist and you're thinking this and thinking this, maybe you should just start the day by writing things. I will do that periodically. If I'm getting more into songwriting mode and I'm doing more, like yesterday, I just went in with an artist and was just working on lyrics and melody. I feel like I'm getting back in that mode. And one of the things I will do is I will start the day before I look at my phone, but before I do anything else, whether it's physically write or type, I'll just write out things in rhyme. And sometimes it's like nonsense, and sometimes it's like just illegible craziness, but just getting your brain in the space of making things, I think, will benefit people more than most of the analysis. And the analysis stuff is really important. Are you optimally a morning person or a later in the day person? People's circadian rhythms give them different brain chemicals at different days, and everybody's different. You just got to start making stuff. Just put yourself in the position, and then the creativity I think will show up from there.
Yeah, but it's worth spending some time analyzing, though, because if you think that because your best friend writes their best lyric in the morning and that's the best way to do it, but you actually, your brain turns on in the afternoon towards this, right? Like, we know, schools tend to start way too early for the majority of kids' brains to be turned on. It's like a whole revamp of the education system needs to happen based on time and when our brains are turned on. So if you're not a morning person, maybe that's not the best time for you to write lyrics, but you think it is because you've never heard any otherwise, and most people do this, and that's inspiring.
Well, that's common. What I'm saying is we're already overanalyzing. Just start making stuff, and you'll figure out what part of it. Of
course. Yeah. But if you just start making stuff blindly, and the stuff isn't coming out to your liking because you just hammer at it at maybe the potential wrong time for you, then you're not going to witness the benefits of your, your practice.
If you're already making stuff all the time and you're not doing it optimally, totally. Analysis
I would say that
important.
You're correct, though, which is just start doing it and building the habit. But if you also build it in the proper time that's best for you, where you function highest, then you're going to get tenfold the output from that. That's a bit more, creatively where you want it to be, I would say.
Thanks for watching. Just a reminder, all of this content is free. There's no secret knowledge here. We don't have sponsors. We don't run ads. We don't have a Patreon. All that we ask in return is that you share it with somebody. Thanks.